Happy Thursday, everyone. As you can see, I'm all dressed up because today's actually not Thursday, but it's Sunday, April 5th, and this is my wedding anniversary. And I thought that it would be a really great time to talk about one of the things that's come up quite a bit, a question that I get a lot, and that is, what are some of the lessons that you and your husband have learned being in a cross-cultural relationship? Now, my husband is from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, but my family is from Guinea, which is in West Africa, and from the United States. And so we have this really cross-cultural relationship. He comes from originally a village place and moved to the city in a really big city called Lagos. It's kind of like New York. And so I have no concept of either of those because I come from someplace right in the middle, AKA the suburbs. We grew up so differently. Our families are completely different. And yet we found each other and we're trying to make this thing work. And I think we're doing a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. So 4 years in, going through the dating process, I have found that there are a couple of things I want to share with you. I even asked my husband to weigh in on this one. So here's what he had to say. Number one, his number one thing was about listening. Listen, listen, and listen some more. At the end of the day, we all, no matter what culture you're coming from, we all come together and there might be a little confusion. In particular, if you've been raised a certain way, you think you're grown. You've been living this way for a long time. He said, you come to this marriage at the age of 30, 40 plus, and you've been doing life for a long time. And it is so important to take a minute and listen to what your partner has to say, and listen to the kinds of experiences that may be different from what you're used to. That means that you may not always get your way. That means that you may also have to just take a step back and see how things go. I remember when my sister was living with me and we were fighting because I wanted the dishwasher filled a certain way. And I just believe that there is one way to fill a dishwasher. And she was not of the same opinion. And so we would fuss about this silly little thing. But if we had just stopped and listened to one another, the question that we could have answered was, do the dishes get clean? At the end of the day, how we got to that same point may be a little bit different, but we were on the same track. Even coming from same families, we had to listen to one another. So that's number one. Number two, my number one, but number two is understand that our language is just not always the same. We say the same words. We might even be speaking the same language, but our meanings, our understanding can be somewhat different. That is really tied into that number one about listening, because when we understand somebody else's point of view says that going to the bathroom is going to the loo, and somebody else's is the toilet, and somebody else's is something completely different, then maybe we can meet in the middle. If I say to my husband, can you please go and get a saucer? Well, if he didn't grow up with teacups that come with the plates, then maybe that's going to be a big issue for him. He's going to come back with something that I have no idea what he's doing. That might be frustrating to me, but I have to stop in the moment and remember, we did things different and we learned things different and we experienced things different. And so I have to know that even though we're speaking the same language, there can sometimes be differences. And then the other thing, the final one, number three, comes from when we first met. When we first met, my husband was so respectful and still is to this day. And he would always address me with kindness, except for one thing. When I was talking, he would be looking down. I didn't understand what was going on. He would be looking down and I would be trying to make a point that was so important to me. Communicating and trying to learn him and trying to grow. And it wasn't working. I would say to him, are you listening to me? Would you look at me? Why are you not looking at me in my eyes? I start to get frustrated. And that's when I learned. Number 3 is about hidden rules. Now, he was respecting me not as an elder per se, but showing me respect as a person he cared about and who he was valuing. That's important. Hey, listen, there's plenty more we could say about all of these things, but I'll just say keep listening because I'm sure we'll come back to this. Have a great week on purpose. And don't forget to try your best to learn something new about somebody that you care about. You never know how you may end up. I ended up married.